one of my probably fairly irrational prejudices is against multi-tools that aren't made by a company that I'm really familiar with. Leatherman, Victorinox, even Gerber, I will definitely give them much more of a chance than when I see something made by a company called Roxon. But I watched a video by Max Level EDC about this guy here, and it just seemed interesting enough for me to give it a go. So I'm going to talk you through the Roxon Phantom. This is the basic version of the Phantom. This just came with a set of replaceable jaws, and that's it. So we're going to go through the tool. It's an interesting, quite sort of chunky multi-tool that does a lot of the basic stuff that multi-tools do. And the gimmick with this one, or the thing with this one, is that it's got three pretty full-size tools. So it's got a full-size set of pliers here. It's got a full-size knife here. And the main little interesting thing about it, this little part here, you're probably wondering what's this extra little segment? That is a full-sized pair of scissors. Pretty cool. So look, overall, this is still a budget multi-tool. It's probably made in the same factory that all the Ganzo ones are made in, all the sort of brandless Amazon ones. But something about this one certainly does draw the eye a little bit more. Now, it's by no means a small pocket-sized multi-tool. This is a multi-tool that you carry on a sheath, absolutely, or in a bag, or in a car glove box, something like that. It cost you about, I think it was about $80 for me to get it shipped all the way here, which compared to anything that, especially Leatherman or Victorinox are making, is about half the price, even a third of the price. It's about the same price as some of the more basic, also overseas made Gerber multi-tools, the suspension and tools like that. So for what is quite an interesting different design, I thought I would give it a go. So another cool thing about this multi-tool is that you can absolutely replace the knife blade. Roxon has about 8 different types of knives that you can very simply pop the scales off and put on any of their other knife blades. This is the American Tanto is the one it comes with. There is a whole range. There is a utility blade, which is probably the one that I'm going to try and spring for. And then there's a hunting style knife. There's loads of them. So, and the cool thing is these just pop back on, and they really do. It's as simple as it seems. They just lock back on and it works again. So really cool little attachment mechanism there. This whole scale just pops off with these 2 little locks. Now, how does everything work? Well, the knife, we'll start with the knife, I suppose. The knife's made of a pretty basic, like a 5CR15 type steel, and it cuts fine, like it cuts okay. It came nice and sharp, which is better than most multi-tools will do for you. And it's a perfectly usable little blade. It's a kind of burner knife that you use to cut into bags of compost. Things are going to damage a nice pocket knife edge. Just stick this ends up becoming just a knife-like object. If it's like any of my multi-tool knives, I'll touch them up every now and then, but really it ends up just being kind of like a scrapey, diggy, kind of messy use blade for sure. And as that, it does absolutely fine, but yeah, it certainly does come from the factory in pretty good condition as well. Steel's not going to last very long. It's going to be prone to rust, pretty low quality stainless steel, as is on basically every multi-tool apart from the really expensive ones like the Leatherman Charge and the Victorinox Spirit and whatnot. So moving on, we've got, we'll go to the pliers. So the pliers are definitely, they feel lighter duty. So they are, they're spring-loaded, which is generally not as durable a mechanism as just having like manual pliers. The spring-loaded is often something that can go wrong, and you can sort of overextend or you can break. But as something that's just supposed to be used in a pinch, and this isn't going to be your primary set of pliers, they're just fine. They're quite small, so compared to like the Leatherman pliers on, say, the Leatherman Bond or the Leatherman Curl or the Leatherman Charge, they're going to have more teeth, more knurling, and the wire cutter sections are going to be a little bit sort of more defined and sharper and stronger, and that sort of thing. This does come, I was pretty happy to see, come with a pair of replaceable wire cutters, because I mean, it's one of those things that chances are going to be a little bit tricky to track down, especially after a little bit of time with the tool. So it comes with a second set, so you've got plenty of life, especially for the relatively light use you're going to be putting these pliers through. Moving on to the scissors. So the scissors was the part that really got my attention, and they are definitely a good full-sized pair of scissors. They've got relative comfort, and just compared to basically every other multi-tool scissor, they blow them out of the water. So that is a full-size pair of scissors. Well, you know, in terms of a pocket-sized to pocket-sized, full-sized pair of scissors. About on par with the Leatherman Micro. In fact, the Leatherman Micro is probably the only scissor-based multi-tool that I've seen that's about as good as these guys are here. So, and they're absolutely fine scissors as well. They actually do cut really well as well. They're sprung. They've got a bit of schmutz in them because I've been using this outside in the dirt. I'll have to blast all out with WD-40. But yeah, really, really good, capable scissors with a comfortable enough arm to use. The steels, you know, not something you're going to be wanting to use all day, the folded over steel section here, but really for multi-tool scissors, for something again you're going to keep in your car glove box to maybe help you wrap a present or something like that, really, really good. Probably among the best multi-tool scissors going. Leatherman Surge had good scissors too, so they're about probably that same capability with perhaps a little bit more comfort involved as well. Now, the tools sort of let down, and it sort of starts to show its cheapness by looking at the handle tools. So the smaller tools, they all do lock, which is cool. So there is a locking button that you know, you have to pull back to release the tool, and you can sort of push the locking button the other way to get them all kind of presented as well, which is a nice little feature too. But the tools themselves are pretty cheap, stamped out affairs, pretty crudely ground edges on the can opener, on the awl, and on the chisel blade. The Phillips screwdriver particularly is pretty average. Now they do sell like an expansion kit for this as well, and some of the more premium packages of this come with it, but the Phillips as it is, I mean, it's going to do your toys, battery compartments and things like that, which is what mostly these sorts of Leatherman or multi-tool drivers are being used for. You know, your kid will need a battery change in a toy last thing at night. It might be the nightlight or something, and you have to just find a little Phillips head driver to unscrew the battery. And that's usually what these are for, and it does that, but it's definitely not, you couldn't say it's a well-made tool. In fact, when you look at it from the top in the cross-section, it's got a couple of machining errors and whatnot. So there you go. The can opener, I mean, it opens a can. In Australia, I've barely seen a can that doesn't have a ring pull for a long, long time. Sometimes if you go to like Aldi or like a different shop that gets things from a different place, you might need a can opener still. I guess it's not a bad thing to have around. You can always just use a knife to open a can too, but it does open a can in a pinch. Never fun though. The saw is the other sort of handle scale tool, and the saw is not very good. The saw does that error that most of these overseas multi-tools do. They kind of just cut out from a piece of steel a saw shape. There is perhaps some slight tapering, but really not enough to make this a good, pleasant to use saw. It would kind of, like most little saws without the proper tapering done, it binds up after a while and it's just sort of stops cutting. So it's not a particularly good saw. It might do you a saw job in a pinch, but yeah, realistically speaking, you see this often on the lesser multi-tools. Leatherman will always have a taper on their saws, Victorinox taper on their saws. It's a bit of an extra machining cost, but it makes the saw usable. So this doesn't have that either, so there you go. The other handle tools are a chisel style, I guess just blade or scraper edge with a couple of wire strippers in there. I haven't really had much of a need to use those yet. The chisel does chisel, it's sharp enough to do some light wood chiseling, but I haven't had any legitimate use for that, nor the wire strippers, so probably something I'll barely use. And the awl, I'll use an awl from time to time. I haven't used this one yet. It seems a little bit rough, a little bit on the rough side, but it'll punch a hole in what's most likely going to be my use for it, which is just putting sprinklers into you know, poly piping, that sort of thing. So it'll get used a little bit for that, perhaps. But really, I mainly got it because I was interested in seeing how this sort of different style of multi-tool worked. This extra little segment here in the middle, whilst it does beef it out, adds a pretty much full-size pair of scissors, which I think is really, really cool. You've got a centimeter markings along here. I suppose if you order it from Amazon in America, you might get inches. But I sometimes use these to figure out what kind of pipes I'm getting before I go to the shop, or if I, don't have a ruler on me at a shop, I can go, is this going to fit that? That's generally what I use my rulers for, my multi-tools, just for like sizes of brackets and sizes of pipe diameters and whatnot. So that's there to be used as well. As I said, it's not a pocket-sized multi-tool. It's about in your pocket, the size in terms of two-dimensional space as a big folding knife. And then if you turn it over, it's about the size of two big folding knives stacked on top of each other. So it's a big tool, so you're going to be carrying it in your pouch, or I would suggest just a backpack or a car glove box. These are great for like if you've got 2 or 3 cars, order a couple of these, and this can be in a little car toolkit. Because geez, a lot of the times when I'm in my car is when I need to cut like a bandage or something. I've had that pretty recently, where you're preparing something and you need to just make a good, accurate cut. Scissors are going to be great for it. It's a capable-ish knife, a pair of pliers, no worries at all. And I mean, these little handle tools, they're just little bits of metal that might fit the certain job that you need a little sort of somewhat sharp bit of metal to do for you. So there you go. Roxon Phantom multi-tool, pretty interesting. Just needs a little bit more polish to really put it anywhere near the leagues of even a pretty basic Gerber multi-tool. The whole thing's just a little bit rickety, a little bit sort of cheap feeling still, but it has some really great ideas, which are really cool to see. And I would love to see some of the big companies that make their tools really well implement some ideas like this. That'd be really nice to see. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. Hope you liked, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.